Hello my dear friends, in this tutorial, in this video, we will see how the backend is working for this chat application. I have included all the instruction on GitHub. I will drop the link in the description for GitHub so you don't have to worry about anything. You can run this project locally or you can see all the file structures and every instruction in the GitHub link. So here are the instruction for the backend setup. You go into the project directory in the backend, you run all the libraries and set up the virtual environment for Python to run on, and then you install all the dependencies and your backend is ready. And for front end, you have to cd into the directory, you install all the required package, and then it will, and then you can go back to you can open multiple tabs of terminal and you can start the backend. It will run on port 8000. You can just run this command, python main.py is the main file that that is run on server that receives the query, the prompt text, and then it send back the result. And we go on the front end and run this command npm run dev. It will start your front end on this, and when you do both, it will look like that. That's how it looks when you start the project, and it will run on your local host, and you can start querying it, type your queries, it will generate the query and also the result that you can see, and also you can see the text, the way it generates the data. And let's see now the main file structure that we were talking about. So it has, in the backend, it has two main file agent. It has the agent, it creates the agent that interacts with the data, receives the query, and it has a main file that that receives the request coming from the browser, and then it creates the agent, and then it executes the query that is generated by OpenAI and receives the result and sent to the browser in JSON format, and React displays the result. So here are these four files. Requirement.txt is nothing but all the APIs that we are using, dependencies that we are using. So when you run command python install, it goes to this file and install all these dependencies, so you don't have to worry about everything is included. And let's go to main file. So it is the main file that you need to understand in order to get in order to get some understanding and grip on how it works, so you can expand it, extend it, and use it in your project. You can create bigger projects. So here we are. As you can see, the main file right here. So what it does, it includes all the libraries that we are using. We are using FastAPI. It's a web framework that creates our API server, and we are using FastAPI middleware. If you don't have to know deep about it, if you're running your project on development server on your local host, it just we are saying it to allow all the requests coming from everywhere. So but on production, you don't want to do that. You want to change it however you want to run it on production. And FastAPI uses pedantic. We are using base model of it. It's not a tutorial about pedantic, so we'll talk about that in some other tutorial. And we are using .env to load environment variables, and OS is to interact with the files. So here you can see load .env. What it does, basically, I have the key in my .env file, so it loads the OpenAI key and the model that I'm using it. You can change it. You will have to put your own key if you're running it on your dev server on your local. This is my key. You can copy and see it. So I mean, you can copy, but it is hidden. So let's go back to the main file now. So here we create the application using the FastAPI. We give the title. You can write it any title here, and then this is the code, which is basically saying all the requests are allowed on the server. And next is we are lazy loading the SQL agent. Basically, what is it doing? We are creating the agent only when we need it, so we are not uh, creating the agent when it starts, but basically this global checks, and we can change the SQL agent variable, and if it is not, it doesn't exist, we make a check here, and then if it does not exist, we create a new SQL agent. It goes to the agent file, we will talk about that, and it returns the agent. Basically, this is what it is doing. So it's basically, instead of creating the SQL agent immediately when the server starts, we create it only when it is needed. It is useful because the agent connects to database and initializes OpenAI, which takes time. If there is an error, the server can still start and show helpful error messages. So it's a good practice, I would say. And then we have these two classes. We are using base model, as you can see in the patentic. We are using the base model from the patentic, and basically what it is doing, it is receiving the request. As you can see this here, it is receiving the text, the prompt text that is being sent here, and it is generating the response. Basically is the query that will be generated, and it is the raw result, and this will send the answer. So this is the library we are using. You don't have to worry about it, you just copy and paste. If you want to learn more about it, I can create a new tutorial, or you can go on their website. And now this is the endpoint. So this is a decorator, what it tells when somebody goes to on this URL, like on a slash. What it does, it runs this function. Basically it's a check that server is running, everything is fine. It does nothing, but it just tells you, okay, it's running. And then health, there is a function, there's a request that goes on. It tells if the database is connected and everything is fine. It gives the status, and the other decorator function I have here is schema. So basically what it's doing, it is returns the information about database structure, like tables and columns and types. And what it does, it just calls this function in the agent file, creates the agent if it doesn't exist, and then it calls the get schema function in the agent file. If you see get schema, you can see the get schema. So what it does, it connects to the SQLite database and creates the cursor, and then it queries the database, and then it checks all the table that needs to be worked on, and it loops through, and then it closes the connection. Right here in this you can see this working. And if you go back to the main file, and it returns the schema, and if it fails, then it will show you the error. And the next one, this is the most important part of the process. This is, you can say, this is the main endpoint of the process of user questions. So what is happening here, we are creating the agent, and then it takes the question that is being sent, and then it calls this function, query function, in the agent file. Let's see the agent function, agent file, query function. Where is it? Okay, here. So it receives the string, and then it takes the schema and the table, and then it is taking the question. Basically what it's trying to do is generating the SQL, and is running the SQL on the database and sending the raw result right here. And we'll discuss more about this file, we'll come back to it, but let's go back to see the main process, how it is working here. And then we are basically just starting the server in the main file. Now the main thing is happening in this file right here. We'll talk about this in the next video.